1. This is a true story that occurred back in the 1980s. One of my best friends from high school invited me to his kung fu school's Christmas party. They had the usual demonstrations and stuff with some refreshments, and it was a pretty good time. My friend had also invited 2 girls he knew that I hadn't met before. When it was time to go, around 10 to 10:30 p.m., my friend, who I will refer to as T, offered to drive me back home. The girls would also be joining us, and he would drop them off first, then drop me off. We were all talking and listening to either the radio or one of T's cassette tapes, the 80s. I sat directly behind T, and the girls were both on our right. Anyways, we get to a traffic light and come to a stop. And something happens to me that I don't really have words for, other than to say that information, a signal, really, was put into my head by what seemed like an external source. It was this: your death is ahead of you on this road. It took a few moments to sink in. I told T to shut the tape and radio off. He did so. We sat in silence. I asked if anyone else felt that or heard that. T asked what was the matter. I pretty much just said, our death is just ahead, it's up the road. Now, nobody laughed, but nobody screamed either. The silent red light finally turned green. T asked, what do I do? I said, I think we should go, I guess. So we drive along. I didn't have anything else to go on, no other information. But the further we went, the more I could see it, could feel something about to happen. That we were getting closer. T asked, what is it? Where is it? We're getting closer, I can see it. God damn, do you feel it yet? We approached a T intersection with a local landmark Italian restaurant, with the side street intersecting with the road we were on from the right. My God, we're almost on top of it. Where is it? Do you feel it? I feel it, T said. Where is it? There, I said. I saw it. Across the restaurant parking lot, a white van was barreling forward. Not about to stop at the stop sign, headlights off, at 10:30 in December. I see him, T said. And he gunned the engine, swerving into the oncoming traffic lane as the van came at us. T swerved the car again to the right, trying to slide the back end, when BAM! There was a huge impact, the sound of glass breaking, tires screeching, a sense of spinning. Then it stopped. We were off the shoulder of the road, facing the direction we came from. The road now on our left. For a moment we all sat there. Then, are you all right? My leg, the girl next to me said. Glass was all over us, but she seemed okay. Nobody was bleeding. Nobody even hurt badly. We saw the van roll into a bar parking lot just across from the Italian place. T jumped out of the car, furious. I said to the girls that I'd better follow him or he'll freaking kill that guy, and we all got out. I looked at the car. A Chevy Citation. The rear quarter panel where we got hit was crushed. The left rear axle was bent 90 degrees, the wheel flat to the ground. The car was a total loss. If we had been hit in the front end in a direct hit, I don't think anyone would have made it out alive. I learned many years later that it took all of T's will to turn around to look at us. In that moment, he thought he alone had survived, that we had all gotten killed instantly. We follow T into the bar. T is raging and demanding that they point out who had just entered. Where is he? He yelled. They seemed to be protecting whoever it was. They wouldn't let us in, we were all underaged. I took the girl who was next to me in the car over to the Italian place, and we went into the bathroom to check her leg. Just bruises, but no broken skin or bones. We head back. Parents have been called, police too. T's parents arrive. T and I sheepishly tell his mom about my foreknowledge, and that we knew to look for danger in that moment, and how T's reflexes saved us from a head-on collision, saved us all. I still don't know what to make of the whole thing. Where did the information come from? God, a guardian angel, psychic power, my own consciousness? Is consciousness external to the body? I only knew to trust it implicitly and act on it immediately. And here I am, many years later, alive to tell the tale. 2. So I have lived in this apartment since I was born. My parents bought it when they first discovered they were having a child, me. So, the story starts here. When I was born, my parents were still doing some work at the apartment, so only my father slept there while my mother and I slept at my grandparents' house. One night my father got, as usual, into the bed and was trying to fall asleep when he felt at the end of the bed a pressure, a weight near his feet, just like someone sat on the end of the bed. At this point my father looked at the end of the bed. Of course he saw nothing, but he was too scared to sleep that night. I have only known this story for 2 years, when my father revealed this to me while I was telling my parents how I felt like there was something in our house, especially in my parents' bedroom. From that day on, I started experiencing more things, such as all the lights in our house turning off, my cat staring at something I can't see. But there are 3 more things that happened to me that I am scared of. First, one night I was sleeping and my phone alarm started. I looked at the time, 3:33. Of course, I didn't set an alarm for that time. Second, one night I was sleeping in my parents' bedroom with my mom since my father was away, and I was doing some work in my room, so I couldn't sleep there. So I wasn't really sleeping. I was in that state where you're trying to sleep, but you're still aware of your surroundings. So I had my sheets covering my feet, and at one point I felt the sheet being taken away from my feet, from the end of the bed. I was shocked. I thought maybe my mom was trying to scare me. So I looked at her and she was sleeping, and the sheets were of course on the floor. Third and last thing, I always close the door of my room before going to sleep. But it's been some days, and I always find my door open when I wake up. I asked my parents and they didn't do it. I don't know what to think of it. I ask you to help me. I don't know what to do because I'm really starting to be scared by this. 3. I have had numerous weird things occur in my new house. They are all centered around my bedroom. The first event happened late at night, though I don't remember the time. I had woke up randomly to the noise of footsteps on my bedroom's wooden floor. I looked around my bedroom, thinking it could be my cats or my brother trying to take something from my room, and saw no one. I sleep with my door closed so the cats can't get in randomly. I rolled over and went back to bed. The second event was about 2 weeks after the first event. I woke up randomly yet again to disembodied footsteps. I again rolled over and tried to return to sleep. However, what happened next caused me to jolt upright. Right next to my ear, something clapped its hands together twice, loudly. It shook me, and I couldn't fall asleep for about an hour. The next time something paranormal happened, it was about 3 days later. My brother had a party at the local buffet restaurant and we all went. Fast forward to when we get back. I walk into my room to discover that both of the drawers on my bedside table are pulled open. I checked for signs of forced entry into the house to rule out normal reasons, and came up empty. The other rooms were as we left them, which was odd, because what human breaks into a place to open 2 drawers and leaves? I closed them and shrugged it off. It's about 7:30 the same night when something else happens. I didn't have a chair in my bedroom to sit and watch TV in, so I either stood in front of the TV when the remote was dead, or laid on my bed and watched. Well, my remote was dead that night, and I was standing in front of my TV with the bed behind me, when I heard the mattress creak like someone had deliberately sat down with force. I turned and saw an imprint on the mattress that was slowly fading. Obviously, I was spooked, but I ignored it and kept watching TV. Then came a knock on my bedroom's door. I thought that was my brother or my parents. So I said, "Come in," clearly and loudly. Then the knock came again. I was confused, so I said, "Come in," more loudly. Then no one came in, so I pulled open the door to see no one. My brother was playing his sax the whole time, so he couldn't have been pranking me. I asked him if he heard the knocking, to which he replied yes. When I asked him if he had seen anyone, he answered no. I was thinking till that point that I had simply been hearing things, until my brother confirmed he was hearing them too. The activity began to worsen, with it hiding and moving things around my room. For instance, I had placed my cylinder portable charger atop my dresser, and went to the computer to game for a bit. When I returned to my room, the charger was gone from the dresser. I found it tucked into the pocket of a pair of dirty gym shorts that were in my dirty clothes bin. After those events, the activity stopped abruptly. Was I dealing with a playful ghost who enjoyed pranking me and got bored? A poltergeist that had its fill and left? Tell me what you guys think. 4. So a few years ago, some of my friends and I decided to ride out to the beach at night to hang out and enjoy the night sky. We live in Orlando, so we drove to our closest beach, Cocoa. It's a small, quiet beach town about 30 to 45 minutes from Central Florida. We found a spot in the sand, laid out our blankets, and laid down to stargaze. The group includes myself, female, my boyfriend, and another couple. An hour or so goes by, and the guys decided that they were going to go back to the car to grab a frisbee. My friend, we'll call her Katie, and I decided we'd be fine to stay on the beach for the short time they'd be gone. The guys leave. Katie and I are just sitting up, talking, laughing, and chain-smoking cigarettes. She now breaks eye contact with me, and is staring at something behind me. I turn around and look towards her gaze, and see a raccoon about 50 feet away from us. I'm a little startled, but calm. We laugh about it, but keep it in our sight to make sure it doesn't bother us. It starts walking behind us to our right side, but still maintaining its distance. All of a sudden, we're not so sure that it's a raccoon anymore. Now it looks to be about the size of a medium dog. We're now a little nervous, and we express that to each other. We're scared that it might be a bobcat. And this is where it gets really freaky. This thing now all of a sudden stands up on 2 legs, and morphs into the size of a person. Now we really start freaking out. We are completely frozen at the sight of this. The thing might be the size of a person, but it is walking as if it had the hind legs of a horse, striding across the sand in a manner of a stilt walker. It is still about 50 feet away from us, but is now directly in front of the shore. We can do nothing but continue watching. The thing seems as if it's getting bigger. And holy shit, it is getting bigger. This thing is now bigger than anything that I can explain. It's just a black figure 20 feet tall and appears as if it's floating an inch off the ground. We are now at this point aware that whatever this thing is, it's not an animal, it's not a person. What the fuck is it then? It's now splitting, and all of a sudden it becomes 2 figures floating side by side, crossing in front of us all the way down by the shore. It continues to move at a steady pace from in front of us to our left side. It's now about 100 feet away. It morphs back into 1 figure, and without us realizing it, it's back to the size of a human. It continues walking further and further until it disappears into the darkness. Katie and I look at each other with no words, completely speechless. We don't even know how to process what we just experienced. We sit in silence. A few minutes go by, and she speaks up. What was that? I reply, I have absolutely no idea. We lost track of time, but this whole thing happened in under 3 minutes. The guys come back and notice that we are visibly shaken. We try to explain what we had seen, but we couldn't capture the true feeling it gave us. We still talk about this, and we have tried to see if anyone else has experienced the same thing we did. We can't find any information on something similar to this, and we have no idea where to start looking for answers. This is something that still haunts us to this day. Has anyone experienced anything like this, or knows any information about what this could possibly be? Please respond. 5. I live in the Netherlands, in a very small town in the east. The house I lived in from the moment I was born till I was about 12 years old wasn't exactly the best house to live in. The house was very big, but needed a lot of work done to it. My dad promised the landlord to do all the work the house needed in exchange for a lower rent. This would be a nice deal for anyone but my dad. Let's just say he wasn't really a person to do things. He always just fooled around and never did any real work. He also never did any work on the house, so for the first 12 years of my life, I lived in a pretty dangerous house. Before I tell you what happened in those 12 years in our house, you need to know the rough layout of the house. We lived in a 2-story house. The ground floor was meant to be used as a store, but my mum turned it into an indoor playground because we lived on a busy street, so we couldn't play outside. The first floor was the floor we lived on. To get there, you had to go up on a flight of stairs. At the top of the stairs, you would see a door. After opening that, you would walk out into a hallway, which was filled with holes in the ground, because my dad was supposed to fix the house. If you would walk to the right, you would walk into our living room and kitchen, which looked awful because, again, my dad never did anything to fix the house. If you would walk straight out of the door, you'd go into our bathroom, which was the worst looking room. Paint falling off the walls, mold everywhere, etc. If you would walk to the left, you would go to our bedrooms. The first one on the left was my younger brother's bedroom, which also had the stairs to our attic. The second one on the left was my bedroom. My bedroom contained the door to our roof terrace. The bedroom on the right was the bedroom of my parents. Now you know the layout, I can tell you why I will never step into this house ever again. My parents, my little brother and me have always been neutral about the paranormal. We didn't deny its existence, neither did we confirm it. We all still have this opinion even though that house contained something not normal. It became a normal occurrence to hear footsteps stomping in the attic, but every time we went up there, nothing was there. The first few times we heard it, we dismissed it as the house making noise, since it was built in the early 1800s. But eventually we couldn't dismiss it anymore. It sounded like there were at least 3 people up there just running around. The first few weeks we heard this, we were scared shitless, but after a while it was normal to hear the footsteps. Then a few years later, when I was about 7 or 8 years old, I kept seeing this shadow on the lower half of the wall opposite my bed. The shadow was of a woman with long hair, and the shadow would start at her waist. The position she was in was like the emoji of the woman tipping her hand. After seeing it a few days and nights in a row, I asked my mum why there was a weird shadow of a woman on my wall. My mum, of course, freaking out, went to my room and also saw it. She at first thought that it might have come from the objects in my room, which sounds logical, so we completely rearranged my bedroom. Whilst doing this, we didn't really pay attention to the shadow, which in hindsight was a very stupid move. We finished rearranging my room and the shadow was nowhere to be found. We were happy it was gone, and we went about our lives again. A few weeks later I saw the shadow again while I was changing into my PJs, kept my eyes on it and yelled for my mum that the lady was back, but this time on a different wall. We decided to move everything away from that wall to make sure no object could cause it. The lady stayed on that very wall for the rest of the time we lived in that house. She didn't move to any other wall, and she would sometimes disappear for weeks, only to return to that exact spot. I knew she wasn't hostile, but I still get chills thinking about her. The third weird thing happening in my house was the one that seriously scared us all. This started when I was about 8 years old. My dad ran his own business, so he had pretty long days. Our front door was right next to the stairs you needed to go up to get to our hallway. The door was also obnoxiously loud. You could hear the key sliding in, it twisting, the door opening and then closing. So when some of our family members came in, we knew because we could hear it everywhere in the house. One time around 7 p.m, I heard the key going into the lock. We were all home except my dad, so we all assumed he was home early. I decided to stand next to the door at the top of the stairs. I stood there and heard the door downstairs opening, someone stepping in, the door closing and it being locked again, plus an extra lock closing that could only be locked from the inside. I then heard the footsteps going up the stairs, so I started to kind of get nervous because I wanted to scare my dad. But then I stopped hearing the footsteps. I thought that was odd, so I opened the door from the stairs and absolutely no one was there. I walked down the stairs and looked to see if someone was outside, but no one was there either. I went up the stairs scared shitless and asked my mum if she was pulling some kind of sick prank on me. She immediately denied this and asked me where Dad was. I told her this wasn't funny and that she had to tell me where Dad was. She then said, "But he is here, right? I heard him going up the stairs." At that point I was in full freakout mode. She heard the door opening too, and footsteps going to the stairs, which stopped. Then she heard me going down the stairs and going up again. Now we were both freaking out and decided to call my dad, asking where he was hiding. He answered us in a very confused voice that he was still working and wouldn't be home till late at night. We told him what happened. After hearing this, he went home immediately and searched the ground floor, the first floor and the attic, but found no one. My dad was now very angry and in his deepest and loudest voice yelled, "If you don't come out right now, you will wish I would have called the police instead of handling you myself." Not one sound in the entire house, not one creak, nothing. We didn't really want to call the police because A, they are, sorry for my words here, lazy pussies, and B, what were we going to tell the police? That we had a paranormal break-in. So we all just went to bed early and didn't talk about it. This happened 3 more times and is the one thing in my life where I was the most scared I've ever been. Nothing has been able to scare me more than that happening. Luckily, when I was 12, we moved out of that big house, and now live in a much smaller and not haunted house. Ever since we moved out of that house, I actually haven't had a nightmare, which might be a coincidence, but I'm glad they stopped. Creepy ghost people in my old house, don't ever haunt us again. Hey everybody, Hellfreezer here, and thank you very much for listening to 5 True Paranormal Stories, episode 88. Thank you very much to everybody who allowed me to use their stories in this video, and a special shout out to Reddit user NotLizard, who was the author of story number 4, the spooky shadow creature on the beach story. Well, I am now done recording, which means I can grab this little remote here, which even sometimes works, and I can turn the fan back on. I'll be putting it on full blast because I'm quite warm. It's not super duper hot here, but it's always warmer upstairs than it is downstairs. So I'm going to have the fan on while I'm editing. I'll be testing out some new headphones I got as well. I got ones for working with, which are great, but I've also got new ones that are better for music. The Bluetooth, which is actually my first pair of Bluetooth headphones. So we'll see how I got on with them. Okay, and with that, I'm going to head off from now. So until next time, thank you very much for listening, and take very good care of yourselves.